The invitation arrived on a rainy Thursday. Ivory cardstock embossed with deep navy ink. It announced the Whitmore family's annual reunion, this time in Boston. I turned it over in my hands, remembering the dismissive glances and tight-lipped smiles from years past. My name is Calla Whitmore, though in the business world you'd know me as Calla Monroe. 17 years ago, I was the disappointment, the dreamer who declined a position at Whitmore Global to study event management in Chicago. The reckless one with no future. My phone lit up. It was my cousin Elise. I picked up. "Calla," she trilled, falsely cheerful. "Did you get the invite?" I did. "Well, just a heads up. This year's gathering is extremely upscale. The Fairmont Pavilion is, very exclusive. You get it, right?" I looked across New York City's skyline from the executive suite of Monroe Luxe Events. I had to bite back a laugh. The Fairmont? My flagship property. But the Whitmores didn't have a clue. "Are you suggesting I won't belong, Elise?" "Oh, don't be dramatic," she chirped. "It's just high-profile guests. Senators, tech moguls, maybe a royal. Image is everything." Translation: they didn't want the old failure ruining their show. "And who chose the venue?" "Me," she said smugly. "Dad said I have an eye for prestige. The Fairmont's the crown jewel of Boston. Took some serious strings to pull it off." I smirked. Those strings were emails through our VIP client portal, personally approved by me at a 50% markup. "Sounds like hard work," I said smoothly. "Oh, you have no idea," she gushed. "The owner, C. Monroe, is famously private, but their staff bent over backward once they heard it was the Whitmores." Of course they were. I had instructed the staff to roll out the red carpet. "Anyway," Elise said breezily, "I'm sure you understand. Maybe next year. If you've moved up from that tiny inn you opened in Chicago..." That tiny inn had launched my entire brand. "But sure, Elise, maybe next year." "The inn?" Elise mocked. "It was actually my pilot property, where I tested the innovations that eventually made Monroe Luxe Events a top name in luxury hospitality. But the Whitmores had stopped tracking my life long ago." "Something like that," I replied coolly. After hanging up, I leaned back in my leather chair, the muted bustle of Manhattan streets muffled by the double-insulated windows. Old memories came rushing in. 17 years ago, I graduated from Northwestern with a degree in event management, filled with ambition and exactly zero family support. "You're planning parties for a living," my father had barked. "No Whitmore caters to anyone." But I did. I planned, served, hauled, coordinated. I didn't just want to host events, I wanted to redefine them. And to do that, I needed to master every aspect from the ground up. Within 4 years, I opened my first venue, the Willow House. It sold out months in advance. Now, at 34, I own 18 premier venues and resorts across 6 countries. The Fairmont Pavilion, the chosen site for the reunion, was my masterpiece. A blend of historic Boston architecture and cutting-edge design, it had won Venue of the Year twice. And yet, somehow, my family thought it was too prestigious for me. My phone buzzed again. It was Noah, my assistant. "Contract for Whitmore reunion ready. Need your final approval. Want me to bring it up?" I typed back, smiling. "No need. I have something special planned." I opened my laptop, pulling up the event schematics. If they thought I didn't belong, they were about to learn exactly what exclusion felt like. When the outsider controls the entire night. Every detail passed through my hands, the lighting cues, the champagne list, the keynote timing, even the subtle scent infused through the ventilation. I was crafting an unforgettable experience. Memories flickered, like when they made me sit with the caterers at Uncle Gregory's gala, or Elise's wedding where she accidentally placed me next to the janitorial staff, claiming it was more my speed. I'd already been CEO of 2 companies by then. They never asked about my work, never even Googled my name. Only my younger brother, Owen, ever stayed in touch. He called just as I finalized the plans. "Calla," he said gently, Elise told me she asked you not to come. I'm sorry. Don't be, I said, signing the last form with a flourish. Actually, I could use your help. Can you make sure everyone arrives right at 7 p.m.? Why, what's going on? Let's just say, the Whitmores aren't the only ones with influence around here. The 2 weeks leading up to the reunion flew by. I was hands-on, down to approving the shade of the hydrangeas. If they wanted luxury, I was about to give them a masterclass. The Whitmores loved appearances. They were about to be part of a very different kind of spectacle. The night before the reunion, I walked the marble halls of the Fairmont Pavilion, watching the final preparations. The chandeliers glistened, the crown moldings shone, and the floors gleamed like water. Every detail was perfect. Noah approached with the event tablet. All systems ready. New signage reveal is locked for 7:15 p.m. Are you sure you want to do this? I didn't flinch. I thought of every stifled laugh, every cold shoulder, every dismissal. Absolutely. It's not every day you get to host your entire family in your own venue. I smiled, already imagining the moment. At exactly 6:45 p.m. the next evening, I stood alone in the private viewing room on the top floor, sipping champagne as I watched the security feed. They arrived in glittering waves, luxury handbags swinging, designer suits gleaming, lips air-kissing, everyone desperate to impress. They had no idea who they were about to be impressed by, and they certainly weren't ready for what was coming next. Elise waltzed in wearing crimson Dior, barking orders like she was staff. She posed dramatically by the grand staircase, angling for the best photos. My father's jet black Rolls-Royce rolled up next, followed by an endless parade of luxury cars carrying aunts, uncles, and cousins I hadn't seen since they crowned me, the family's disgrace. Everything's ready, Noah said, glancing at his tablet. Staff's on cue. Want me to keep security close? I shook my head. No need. The Whitmores wouldn't dare disrupt their own illusion of class. I straightened my charcoal gray suit, custom Tom Ford. Not that anyone in that ballroom would have believed the failure of the family now had a wardrobe that could outshine their entire closet. Let them get comfortable, I said. The real show's about to start. Inside the grand pavilion, the reunion buzzed with champagne and hollow laughter. Elise floated around the fountain, gushing about her exclusive connections that had landed them the venue. My father gripped the hands of old business partners, probably inflating his investment portfolio. My cousins snapped selfies by the pavilion's branded backdrop like the prestige could rub off on them. At 7:10 p.m. sharp, the pavilion's general manager approached Elise. Mrs. Whitmore, I'm terribly sorry. There's a small matter regarding tonight's event. Elise's carefully rehearsed smile cracked. What are you talking about? I arranged everything through your corporate office. Yes, ma'am, the manager said politely. It's just, the owner requested a few special touches for tonight. Elise let out a patronizing laugh. The owner, please. See, Monroe is too important to meddle in minor details. A hush spread like wildfire across the ballroom as I emerged from the back. Actually, I said evenly, C. Monroe is very hands-on with her properties. If you feel that sweet tingle of payback right now, don't forget to subscribe, because what happened next, it silenced a room full of Whitmores. Every head turned. The once ignored cousin now stood front and center in the most elite venue in Boston, dressed in a tailored suit worth more than Elise's entire jewelry set. Calla? My father's voice broke the silence. What are you doing here? Elise hissed, desperate to regain control. She told me I wasn't welcome, I said coolly, taking a few steps forward. Didn't want me embarrassing the family, right? Elise's cheeks burned crimson. This is a private event. You need to leave. No, I said, smiling. I really don't. Noah, standing discreetly by the media table, tapped the screen of his tablet. The massive LED wall behind the stage flickered to life. First, the pavilion's logo. Then, in sweeping, unmistakable text, owned and operated by Calla Monroe, née Whitmore. founder and CEO of Monroe Luxe Events. Gasps rippled through the room. A champagne flute slipped from someone's hand, shattering against the marble. Elise stood frozen, mouth ajar. That can't be real. I pulled a sleek leather card holder from my pocket and casually flipped it open. Would you like a business card? I asked sweetly. Or perhaps you'd prefer the property deed. I gave the folder a gentle tap for emphasis. My father took a shaky step forward, voice cracking. You own this place. And 15 others, I nodded, including the inn you mocked, the little project that sparked a luxury empire. Old wounds flashed in my mind, being sidelined, snubbed, laughed at behind closed doors. But tonight wasn't about bitterness, it was about closure. All these years, I said quietly, my voice carrying through the stunned silence. You were too busy looking down on me to notice what I was building. I locked eyes with Elise. And the modest inn you joked about? That was my prototype, my testing ground, the foundation of an empire you're now standing in. Noah stepped forward, placing elegant navy folders into the hands of key family members. These, he announced, contain a welcome letter from Miss Monroe and tonight's detailed invoice. Inside, each folder contained the truth. A company profile of Monroe Luxe Events, press clippings, awards, and a polite but steep invoice for the entire evening, billed at the prestige client rate. Elise's hands trembled as she opened hers. I smiled, serene. This was my legacy, and they had just walked straight into it. Elise snatched her folder, flipping through it with trembling hands. Her eyes widened. This rate, this is above market. About 50% above, I confirmed lightly. A family surcharge. Consider it. Overdue interest. From the back of the room, Owen let out a low laugh. A few others followed, hesitant at first, then more freely as the tension cracked like ice underfoot. My father's mouth flattened into a grim line. Why didn't you ever tell us? I met his gaze evenly. Would you have listened? He said nothing. None of them did. But in that stretch of silence, I heard every unspoken regret. 17 years ago, I said clearly, you told me no daughter of yours would ever wait tables, clean rooms, or serve people like a servant. I smiled, letting the pause draw out. Well, you were half right. Another B. I don't serve tables, I own them. Across the ballroom, every digital panel lit up at once, sweeping images from Monroe Luxe's properties around the world. The shimmering coastline villas in the Maldives, the sleek glass towers in Singapore, the candlelit banquet halls of Paris, our newest 5-star oasis opening in Tokyo, its rooftop gardens glowing against the cityscape. For tonight's event, I added smoothly, your reservations haven't been canceled. You're welcome to stay. In fact, I've arranged personal tours of the pavilion. I think it's time you all saw what a career in customer service actually looks like. Elise took a shaky step toward me, her glossed facade slipping. Calla, we didn't mean. I lifted a hand, cutting her off gently but firmly. Yes, you did. Every cold shoulder, every backhanded comment, every time you made sure I knew I wasn't one of you. I turned, addressing the entire room now, my voice steady and strong. But while you were busy guarding appearances, I was busy building a future. Welcome to the pavilion. There was a low murmur. Some faces looked guilty, some embarrassed. A few, a very few, almost proud. My staff will escort you to your upgraded suites, I continued, smiling. Although, Elise, I said with a slight tilt of my head, due to some unexpected VIP arrivals, your room had to be reassigned to one of our cozy standard queen rooms. The same room Tia she once sneered at when mocking my work in hotels. Her cheeks burned crimson. Slowly, the family filtered out, following uniformed concierges toward the elevators. Some whispered, some avoided eye contact altogether. Only my father lingered. I was wrong, he said, his voice gruff and low. About you. About everything. I studied him. the once imposing figure now seeming strangely small under the grand chandeliers. "Yes," I said softly. "You were." He hesitated. "Is there any way to fix it?" I let the moment stretch before answering. "Well," I said lightly, "the best thing about owning 18 venues is I have plenty of presidential suites. Take your pick, stay a while, think about it." And a faint, rueful smile tugged at his mouth. "You always were tougher than the rest of us." "No," I replied. "I just worked harder. I started at the bottom when none of you would even look down." Later that night, after the last tour ended and the last glass was cleared away, I stood in the penthouse suite overlooking Boston Harbor. Noah entered quietly, a folder in hand. "Final numbers for tonight," he said, "and your family seems a little less smug." I laughed, feeling a lightness in my chest I hadn't known I was carrying. "Amazing what a little humility and a downgrade to a city view room can do," I said, flipping open the file. He hesitated. "Are you going to tell them?" "About Tokyo," I smiled. "Or Paris, or the private equity deal closing next month." I looked at the stack of contracts waiting on my desk, each one bigger than the last. "Not yet," I said, a slow smile spreading across my face. "Let's save a few surprises." If you loved seeing Calla reclaim her power, don't forget to subscribe, because what's coming next will make this reunion look like a dress rehearsal. I leaned against the glass wall, gazing out over the glittering city lights. Success, I realized, was never about vengeance. It was about building a life so solid, so beautiful, that no one's approval could ever make or break it. The best kind of victory was simply living it. It was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving myself right. And sometimes, the sweetest kind of revenge isn't cold at all. It's warm, elegant, served with a rooftop breakfast and a view that leaves you speechless. My phone buzzed. "Elise, can we talk tomorrow, please?" I smiled, typing back a single line. "Lars, your breakfast reservation is at 9 a.m. I own that restaurant too." There was power in simplicity. Not just in the wealth, the buildings, or the accolades, but in finally being seen for who I truly was. Not the help, not the black sheep, not the Whitmore embarrassment, but Calla Monroe, the woman who built a legacy, the woman who wasn't invited to the reunion because she was already hosting it. As I looked out at the sparkling lights of Boston and the pavilion's glowing signage below, a deep, quiet peace filled my chest. Tomorrow would turn another page in the Whitmore story, but this time, it wouldn't be about privilege or appearances. It would be about grit, about growth, about building something real. Because in the end, the best venues don't just offer a ballroom or a room key. They create something unforgettable. And tonight, I made sure my family would remember. If you've stayed with me through this story, thank you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. What would you have done in my place? Stayed silent? Spoken up sooner? Or taken a different path entirely? I read every message. Your voice matters. And if even a spark of my journey inspired you, hit that subscribe button. There's so much more to come. More revelations, more lessons, more wins earned the hard way. Because this wasn't just about a family reunion. It was about reclaiming the place that was always mine. Here's the truth I've learned. Sometimes the world won't notice you until you build something so powerful they can't ignore it. And that's okay. Let them doubt, let them laugh, let them exclude you. Use it, every slight, every silence, as fuel. You don't need revenge. You need results. And when your day comes, when they step into a room you built, smile. Not because you beat them, but because you never needed their approval to shine. Keep building, keep dreaming, and when you rise, I'll be here cheering you on from the top.